VA scandal during Memorial Day services at Arlington National Cemetery. The president stressed the importance of taking care of our vets.
We've been reminded in recent days we must do more to keep faith with our veterans and their families and ensure they get the care and benefits and opportunities that they've earned and that they deserve. These Americans have done their duty. They ask nothing more than that our country does ours, now and for decades to come.
Weeks after the news first broke of the mistreatment of our vets, critics are questioning when someone will be held accountable in this situation. Tucker Carlson is the editor of the Daily Caller and co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Tucker, good morning.
Good morning, Martha.
You know, when you listen to the president there, what's your response in terms of how committed, how passionate he is on this issue?
Well, I mean, this is part of a long-standing pattern. Nothing about this deviates from the script we've watched for the past 6 years. So scandal breaks. President declares his deep concern, nobody gets fired, his surrogates come on television and explain that the president is angry about this, as if his anger were a substitute or the equivalent, really, of justice or accountability. He's mad. That's supposed to be good enough for the rest of us. And then we sort of move on to the next scandal, and no one is ever fired. Because, by the way, firing someone is an admission of culpability, of guilt, and they're not about to go down that road.
But I mean, it's so stunning to me, though, Tucker. And, you know, I'm not a psychologist, and as far as I know, neither are you. But you ask yourself, why, right? You know, all of these things bubble up, and we've got a picture of 4 different individuals that, you know, large numbers of people who called for their firing. Eric Holder, Lois Lerner, Kathleen Sebelius, Eric Shinseki. And we've seen what happens in some of these cases with Kathleen Sebelius, who, you know, when the fury dies down, they sort of quietly slip away. But why is the president so reluctant to say, I'm sorry, you know what, you may be a friend of mine, but you failed in your job and you have to go?
Well, you really need to see this through the lens of the Obama administration. They're looking at this very differently from a lot of the rest of us on the outside. They're thinking of this in political terms. So to bottom line it for you, anybody who's paying close attention to the details of these scandals is not voting for Obama or the Democrats anyway. He's already lost those voters. So really, he doesn't need to answer the charges. His spokesmen don't need to. And by the way, they don't answer the charges. He needs to do 3 things. He needs to convince the public that he cares. He's got the empathy. He's got to keep the money flowing because pretty much half or a little more than half of the country now receives more in goods and services than it pays in. So he's got to keep that money going out to his voters. And the third thing he needs to do is convince his voters that Republicans hate them. So as long as he does those 3 things, and that's basically what he spends his time doing, he's set. I mean, Democrats are set. I mean, they may
I don't know, though, Tucker. I mean, when you look at some of these issues, there's a lot of crossover here. When you look at the healthcare issue, you've got unions now who are very upset about this, and you see no accountability on that front. And then you talk about veterans. I mean, this is a very bipartisan issue, which is why you have a lot of Democrats who also would like to see a little action on this front in terms of accountability.
There are definitely some Democrats, and there are definitely some Democratic senators, incumbents, who are hanging fire on this question. Absolutely. 6 of them, about 6 of them, and they're very upset about it, there's no doubt. But these guys, the White House, they are masters of demographics, and they understand the country has changed dramatically. So the unions you're talking about are not public sector unions, they're the old-fashioned industrial unions, the trade unions. And those are not their voters. That's yesterday's Democratic Party.
I mean, his approval ratings are underwater for the most part, Tucker. So where is the part of the administration that is whispering legacy in this president's ear and saying, how do you want to be remembered, Mr. President?
Well, they believe, and if you talk to them off the record, they believe that, look, in 25 years, your kids will be going to Barack Obama Elementary School. You'll live on Barack Obama Avenue because the country's changing so much that the president in time will be seen as a hero, as a transformative figure, no matter what he does. I mean, this is their mindset. I can't vouch for whether this is true or not. I'm not a futurist, but this is the way they look at the world. They're already winning because America is changing in their direction, whether or not they're winning now. I mean, I think they're going to get really spanked in the midterms. There's no question about it. But they're looking beyond that. These guys have a really long time horizon. I think it's creepy, but that's how they see the world.
You may be right, and we may see. But when you look at all of these issues that are so, you know, IRS, healthcare, veterans, I mean, these are not sort of things that don't touch people's lives. And,
well, I agree completely.
I think they're making a very interesting and very risky bet if they think that the legacy will hold firm in the face of these issues that, as I say, touch people's lives intensely.
Well, they see that as a kind of outmoded Western linear view, logic-based view of the world. The point is he cares.
Interesting.